Welcome to the world of mystery, deduction, and one of the most brilliant minds ever created, Sherlock Holmes. Today we're diving into A Study in Scarlet, the very first story where the great detective meets his lifelong companion, Dr. John Watson. It's a tale of murder, revenge, and the birth of a friendship that would change detective fiction forever. Let's step back to London in the late 1800s. The air is thick with fog, horse-drawn carriages rattle on cobblestone streets, and somewhere in Baker Street, a legend is about to begin. Our story begins with Dr. John Watson, a wounded army doctor just returned from the war in Afghanistan. He's lonely, struggling to recover, and looking for a place to live. By chance, a friend introduces him to another man searching for a roommate. That man is Sherlock Holmes. Watson's first impression is confusion. Holmes is unlike anyone he's ever met. Cheerful one moment, silent and brooding the next. He spends hours conducting chemical experiments, smashes test tubes in excitement, and knows obscure things like the difference between types of cigarette ash. Yet, he can't remember whether the Earth goes around the Sun. When Watson asks why, Holmes simply says, "If I don't need to know it, I don't clutter my brain with it." Despite his strange habits, Holmes is fascinating, and Watson, intrigued, agrees to share an apartment with him at 221B Baker Street. It is here that their remarkable partnership begins. Two completely different men bound together by curiosity and fate. Not long after they move in, a message arrives from the police. There's been a peculiar murder in an empty house on Brixton Road. The victim, a man named Enoch Drebber, lies dead on the floor. There's no wound, no weapon, but blood is splashed across the walls. Written in red letters is one mysterious word: Rach, the German word for revenge. The police are baffled. Some think a woman named Rachel wrote it before dying. Others think it's meaningless. But Holmes sees things differently. He studies the footprints, the ashes, the layout of the room, and calmly declares that the murderer was a tall man, accompanied by a smaller companion who arrived by cab and took something from the victim before leaving. It's as if Holmes can read invisible writing on the walls, tracing a story only he can see. The official detectives, Lestrade and Gregson, argue over theories, but Holmes stays several steps ahead. He is following his own trail, one that will lead far beyond the foggy streets of London. Days later, another murder shocks the city. This time, the victim is Joseph Stangerson, Drebber's secretary. Again, the same eerie word, rake, appears at the scene. The police are completely stumped, but Holmes, he's already solved it. He sets a clever trap. Using an advertisement about a missing ring found at the scene, he lures the killer into revealing himself. A cab driver shows up to claim it, and Holmes instantly unmasks him as the murderer, Jefferson Hope. But the story doesn't end there. Hope isn't a cold-blooded killer. He's a man with a past, driven by love and vengeance. As he confesses, a new chapter unfolds, taking us across the Atlantic to the deserts of America. Years earlier, Hope had fallen in love with a young woman named Lucy Ferrier. They lived among a community of Mormon settlers in Utah. Lucy's father, John Ferrier, refused to let her marry one of the Mormon elders. So Lucy and Hope fled into the desert, desperate for freedom. But they were caught by the same men, Enoch Drebber and Joseph Stangerson. Her father died of exhaustion, and Lucy was forced into marriage with Drebber. Heartbroken, she soon died, leaving Hope with nothing but his grief and his vow of revenge. For years, Jefferson Hope hunted his enemies across continents until he finally found them in London. He forced Drebber to choose between two pills, one harmless, one poisoned. Drebber chose wrong. Later, Hope found and killed Stangerson. But fate had its own justice. His heart was diseased, and before the law could take him, it failed. Hope died with the peace of knowing his vengeance was complete. Holmes calmly explains the entire case to Watson and the astonished police. Every clue, from footprints and cab marks to handwriting and chemical traces, fits together perfectly, like a puzzle only he could solve. The detectives take credit for the capture, but Watson knows who truly solved it. He's amazed by Holmes's genius, his logic, and his cool detachment from emotion. And as Holmes dismisses the case with a shrug, Watson begins to write it all down. He decides to call it a study in Scarlet, because, as Holmes once said, there's a scarlet thread of murder running through the colourless skein of life, and our duty is to unravel it. And so it begins, the story of friendship, intellect, and mystery that would captivate readers for generations. A Study in Scarlet isn't just about crime and revenge, it's about the birth of reason, the triumph of logic, and the beginning of one of the most iconic partnerships in literature. Until next time, stay curious, stay observant, and, as Sherlock Holmes would say, keep your mind free of useless facts.